Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. If you're new here, welcome, and thanks for joining us. If you are our regular viewers, welcome back. And let's strap in for some fun because we are tonight's entertainment. This is the first time hosting, first time using StreamYard, so if I balls this up or hit end broadcast by mistake, it's all my fault. I do apologize well in advance. So, my name is Phil. I am from Phil's Nerdyverse. I am joined by my co-host tonight. First one above me here is Shane from Donna Comics.
Oh, hoi, hoi.
And then Scott from Scott's Shelf.
Shamai, everyone. How you doing?
I'll just do Heidi Ho because that's my usual weekly thing, and I don't get to do it because I'm not introducing myself. All right. So this is episode 46. This week is my pick, which is Silver Surfer, Origins from 1968, written by Stan Lee and artist John Buscema, Buscema, I believe it is.
Yep.
I'm getting used to this, guys. Bear with. So if you haven't worked out by now as well, Scott picked Sandman last week and he hosted the show. I picked Silver Surfer this week and I'm hosting the show. So it doesn't take GCSEs to work out that we are going to rotate the hosting duties of the Nerd Herd. And whoever picks the book host. It's that simple. I'll take this time as well to remind the folk that we are Amazon affiliated now. And in the description below, you will see the link for this week's book. Anything that as you purchase through that link, we get a little bit of money that we have decided to build up and give it to you guys when it comes to prizes and giveaways. And as well, for any kind of schedule shows we have on YouTube, we will add the links to those as well. So next week we have a book and the link is up, the schedule's up. Go check that out as well after this live broadcast, of course. So, shall we meet Herd, see who's joined us this evening?
Of course.
We have Tom from This Month in Movies, Evening All. Liam from The Funky Gibbons, Heidi Ho. I did steal that, I'm not going to lie. It's now mine. And Adam from Comic Buying Gangsters, who also joins in with his usual Hoodie Hi. And it has been a while. Good to have you back, Adam.
It has, yeah. Welcome back, buddy.
And here we have, this is the Comic Book Report. His name is Dominic. He is relatively new here. Say hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
And we have Louis from Job Lot Comics saying hello, lads.
He's particularly excited for this one.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big Marvel fan, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Fuzzy Dunlap, chaps and chapettes.
Hello.
Adam's like, you got this. So I love a little bit of encouragement. You got to keep this up because, and Bethany C, it's Phyllis's time to shine. It absolutely is. This is what I want. This is what I want. I want it all. I want it all.
Should we leave Scott? Just leave Phil to it.
Yeah.
No, I need some supporting acts. Come on, don't ditch me. I need to bounce off people. So that's the Herd. So I guess, as I mentioned, it was my pick this week, and I'll move on to the synopsis of Silver Surfer Origins. And it is just that. It's the origin of the Silver Surfer. That's it. No. So it follows Norrin Radd. He lives on a planet called Shen La. This most perfect planet where there's no war or fighting or famine. Everything's so perfect, but he's frustrated with the kind of the non-adventure, the lack of exploration for new kind of things. But be careful what you wish for, because enter Galactus. And Galactus is the devourer of worlds. So he comes to feast on the energy of Shenla. And Norrin Radd, being as noble as he is, in a bid to save his people and his loved one, Shalabal, he offers himself to act as a herald for Galactus to find suitable planets that have no living life, no one there they could kill, just take the planet's energy. So he offers himself to do that. He then is given the power cosmic by Galactus. And what happens later on, there's a few things that Fantastic Four isn't in this book that happens. He finds himself on Earth, and while Galactus tries to eat Earth, he denies him, and then Galactus kind of banishes him to Earth and puts his barrier around the Earth where he cannot escape. And he tries to fit in with Earth, but Earthlings don't want him. They're fearful of him. So we join him at this journey, and there's a few kind of little mischievous characters. There's the Stranger, you've got Loki and Thor, you've got Mephisto, and you've got the best ones of all, the Brotherhood of Badoon. And he has quarrels with all in a bid to try and escape that barrier and enter the space cosmos once again. So that's the synopsis. Don't know if it was too long. Was it okay?
That's fine,
night.
yeah.
Cool. So I just noticed here we do have Pete from Triple G Comics. Hi all, sorry, on the way back from cinema. We'll catch us on the replay later. I wonder if he's want to see the Suicide Squad. Great movie, by
Yeah,
the way.
he left that out. He should have told us
Yeah,
what he went
I
to
think-
see.
I think he saw it the other
Twice,
day.
I
He
thought,
said he
yeah.
saw it the other day with his son. I think he's just seen it for a third time, or maybe he's seen Free Guy, and that's another popular one at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that, actually.
Me too.
Oh yes, that's the Ryan Reynolds one. Absolutely.
Yes.
Some more encouragement. Perfect synopsis. Thank you very much, Donald.
So, okay, the chat needs to stop now. Phil's head's going to get far
No,
too
hold on,
big.
hold on.
Okay.
The money is on point tonight. Let's go, Phil. This is it. Okay, so moving on from me. Take away the spotlight off me, and we're going to give it to Shane. Shane, do you want to kick us off with this book tonight?
Yes. Okay, so I open this book, as I do with every single book I read, to see if I'm going to enjoy the artwork.
Step
And
one.
Step
Open
one,
book.
even before I read it, I pick it up to have a look, and the first page, lovely. Colours, fantastic. The art's so lovely and clean. I mean, it's the 60s, so the art was always smooth. I loved the whole book, like art-wise, from start to finish. I loved every page. It was so hard to find an actual page to pick because every page is just beautiful. It's clean. The colours, my gosh, it just makes you want to go, wow. The colours are so bright and so vibrant, and I can't say enough good things about the art in this. It very much reminded me of the Eternals in the style, but I just had a much more happy feel when I was reading this. Just so much more.
In terms of the style, I've got it written down here. I've said very Jack Kirby-esque. You know what I mean? It's like I had to double check who was drawn this, because I actually thought it was Jack Kirby.
Steve,
go on.
This is where I kind of not struggled with the art. The art was lovely, but we read the Eternals recently, and that was drawn by Jack Kirby. And Jack Kirby's King Kirby. Like he actually invented the Silver Surfer. You know, he was one who drew it without anyone knowing about it. So, the problem I have with it is that this is so much better than the art from the Eternals. Like it's so much better. Like I just can't get over how, you know, even though it was 8 years prior to the Eternals, it just looks like miles ahead of the Eternals artwork.
I can't quite tell why though.
You know what I mean? Same.
It looks pretty similar, really bang onto each other. It confused me to the point of, did Jack Kirby do this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Phil. It looks better, but I can't tell why.
Could it be that it's characters that you know? No one really know. We didn't know the Eternals when we picked that book up, but we know Thor and Loki and Mephisto and Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four. So could it be that? Is that why it's a little bit better?
Well, Louis is making a good point here. So it's inked by Joe Sinnott, and he inked a lot of Kirby stuff as well. So maybe that's why we're finding similarities in it. But again, for me, it was so much better than the Eternals art. And maybe you're right, because we know these characters. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to some of the pages we picked then? Should we do that now?
Go ahead, yeah. I think to be honest, I think you know, we're struggling to pick things about the art. But there's nothing terrible to say about the art, but there's also we can't sing its praises for too long, otherwise it'll just become boring. Because at the end of the day, this is drawn fantastically well. It's insanely clean. You know, the colors are great. I mean, there is a coloring issue that we want to bring up later, but overall, there's nothing really to fault. I mean, the only thing I could bring up art-wise, I'm not even sure if it's art related. I think it's more script related. There seemed to be a lot of dialogue telling us what is something has just happened, like a swing of an axe or something. You know what I mean? But we don't see the swing of that axe. We just see, you know, the build up to the swing, and then we see the no, I've been hit with an axe. You know, we don't. Do you know what I mean? It felt like sometimes there was a panel or two or 3 or 4 or 5 missing, and instead they just use dialogue to describe the action.
Yeah, I think the Eternals had that problem as well, didn't they? It was just telling you everything instead of showing you it.
Yeah, I think Eternals was very much narration heavy, but this, I know we're going onto the writing a little bit, but it was dialogue heavy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think what you're and I actually did keep some post-its on my book, and now I can't find it because there's that many post-its on my book.
You've just put one on every page
that I can't find it. But I did notice this. There were quite a few kind of speech bubbles, I suppose, of him saying these things, like what he's going to do and what it could mean if he does these things, like really describing it. But that should have been narration as opposed to him kind of speaking it out loud type thing, you know, like if you want to describe things, that's fine, but the fact that the characters themselves were describing the things was quite odd.
Yeah, he spoke to himself a hell of a lot in this, didn't he? Just on his own, just telling us everything.
So Joblot Comics is sent here. Buscema was just incredible. His art is so much more someone say that word for me.
Anatomically
correct than Kirby's stylistic figures. And you're right, like we mentioned Kirby's faces and stuff, like the kind of big jaws and the noses, and it just did not fit. Whereas this, like everything was softer, like the faces were softer, like it was just seemed like it was far better fit.
Just like your beard, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Dominic's asking a question here. Do you think any action was curbed because of the comics code? So maybe they were limited in things they could actually show in the art, possibly?
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't show that, so write about it instead.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
We have Paulo Costa join us again tonight. How's it going, fellas? And Adam is saying that's why he struggles a bit with Silver Age stuff. He thinks the writers must have been paid by the work, or the word by back then, which makes sense. If you're paid by the word, I'll just write more.
Yeah. That's why these issues are so long.
Yeah, we'll get to that point later on. I feel bad for picking this just for that reason. But Tottenham Gaming, Phil should have changed his name to Phil the Surfer.
Phil the Surfer. Oh, man, you missed a trick there. Jeez, man.
And here's Paulo Costa. Pulp writers are paid by the word, and comic writers wanted to be pulp writers. It makes sense if you're getting paid by the word. You want to be paid by the word, so you could write more, as opposed like the page.
Yeah.
But then if you're paid by the page, you would just write less words. It doesn't really matter what's like one word. There's no point working hard for that one page, you know.
Yeah.
And we have Andy from Perpetual Comics, Evening Nerd Herders.
Hey, buddy, thanks for joining.
And you have to remember the Marvel way of working. Lee sent the story idea, Buscema did the pictures, and then Lee filled in the dialogue. And that's what I'll bring up too. Like I mentioned, Jack Kirby created the Silver Surfer because that's what happened in Fantastic Four. It was Jack Kirby just drew the Fantastic Four because he believed Galactus should have a herald, and it came back to Stan Lee, who loved the idea, and then obviously they expanded it later on, and that's how the Silver Surfer was created. So it was a Jack Kirby creation. I think Stan Lee may have thought of the name, the Silver Surfer, but it was definitely Jack Kirby's creation. Paulo saying here, Stan Lee thought he was a big dramatic writer, thus all the I am trapped in this mad world, will I ever gaze upon my lovely Shalabat? There was a lot of that.
Yes.
There was a lot.
Oh,
shall I
so
compare thee
much.
to a summer's day?
It was just so much woe is me, though, wasn't it? He was such a little emo.
This reminds me of you, Shane, a few months ago. I can't remember what episode it was, but it was you just going wah wah wah. Like, it's all about me. Like just kind of what I thought about.
We have Firehawk joining us again.
How's
it going? And Louise has said Stanley did not want to be pulp. His goal was to write the great American novel. Comics were beneath him for years.
And now look at him.
Well, we can't.
We can't.
That'll teach him.
All right, so we will move on to our pages then. Okay. And we are going to go with Scott first. And I'll admit, I almost picked this myself. Go ahead, Scott.
Yes. So this was the page where Silver Surfer pretty much started to lose it in terms of like humanity. You suck. Like I've had enough of trying to be your mate. I've had enough of trying to be nice. You know what? I'm just gonna shoot this cosmic ray all around Earth, and turn off all the electrics. I don't care what happens. You've had it. And it was, this was the first kind of page of this happening. It goes on for was it 4 or 5 pages? And it was just really cool. But I wanted to pretty much focus on, the very top panel there where, Silver Surfer's kind of in space, and you've got all this purple and black bubbles and balls going everywhere, and it's just obviously we know that is not what space looks like, or that that's not what happens in space, but it looks cool and looks awesome, and you can tell that is space. And I think it's really well done. Obviously, as well, the cosmic rays, the lightning kind of stuff going from that panel into all of the other panels quite seamlessly was very well done. And then, all the faces going on inside there, the anguish and the terror at the bottom panel there.
Very reminiscent of his home planet when Galactus arrived.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, and it's just this was my top page, and it was just the space aspect and the fact that the lightning goes into each panel. That's what did it for me.
Yeah. I loved how the people in the bottom panel are they're obviously in the dark, so they're all shadowed out type thing, because obviously he's killed all the lights and stuff, and that's pretty cool. I don't know why, but the Silver Surfer, for such a simple design, I think he looks so cool. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It just looks cool. For having no detail apart from just a muscular silver baldy man on a surfboard.
Muscular silver baldy man.
Yeah, that should be my name tonight. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I said, and tonight, to be fair, was the first time reading this was the first time I actually noticed. He actually has trunks. In your image behind you there, Shane, yes. He doesn't have trunks.
Yeah,
no, it looks very much like Iceman there.
Yeah, and in the movie, the terrible Fantastic Four Rise of Silver Surfer movie, I don't think he had trunks, but this he has silver trunks. So it's just looked at the out muscle beats or whatever, and thought, there's again trunks. I'll just model him and I'll draw him, and then we'll just paint him silver. But yeah, I just thought the trunks was really weird.
Yeah, I noticed that straight away when in the first panel you see him, and I was like, he's wearing pants. I'm pretty sure now he doesn't wear pants. Was this an artistic decision, or did Silver Surfer decide to become a nudist? But I don't know.
Just check some comments here before I move on to Shane's pick. J Rails 247 has joined us this week. Great topic this week. Classic, it is.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
We have Sean the Noob. Evening, folks.
Speaking of muscly bald men.
I did not say that, Sean. That was not me. Paulo Costa, one major problem of John Buscema's art here. Did you ever notice how many people he drew wearing trilby hats? Yeah, in 1968, where were all the hippies? Buscema hated hippies. They did refer to hippies, didn't they? Hippies and hobos.
Hippies, and hobos, and hoods. Oh my.
Yeah. Dominic Comic Book Report is the first Silver Surfer I ever read came from the old Marvel Essential volumes, which are cheap reproductions in black and white. Even for basic color scheme, it's amazing how striking the Silver Surfer is against color. And I wouldn't have enjoyed this book, I don't think, if it was in black and white. The color definitely 100% adds to it.
Yeah. And they did well. I mean, considering they couldn't make silver back then, he's not silver in this book.
He's blue and white, and he's shaded very well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Comic bound these days, he actually is wearing a morph suit. It's hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure I'm 100% correct on that. Adam obviously has his own morph suit.
Silver.
Yeah. We will move on to Shane's before mine. So Shane, take it away.
How could I not pick this when Galactus shows up? So it's the flashback. He's he's telling us what happened on his planet, and we get to see Galactus for the first time, and he's just towering over this little bald man. He's not evil. Galactus isn't evil. He's just, he's hungry, and he says to him, if you had to step on an anthill to survive, would you? And I just thought, wow. Man. Oh my God, stop it. Stop making me think this deeply into this planet killing person. But yeah, and he just looks fantastic. The I quite like the color scheme as well, because that's not the Galactus I know, color wise.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously, it's a big kind of, it's not a splash page, so he takes up the whole page type thing. So, kind of big kind of figure that Galactus is, and it obviously kind of gives that impression that he is just this huge dude that's going to eat the world. And obviously, Norrin Radd and they're begging below, please don't take Shen-La. But you mentioned the colors there, and we're going to quickly move on to my page because I also picked this page. So I read the book I showed you earlier on, and then I went on to my Marvel Unlimited to take a screenshot off that, and that's what I got, that exact image you seen there. But on the book itself, it is entirely different. So excuse the poor photography here. This is just a picture off my book, but this is the color scheme. So this is how I read it, and this is how we know Galactus.
Yeah, the big pink. I was going to say big pink helmet, but then I said it anyway.
Keep your big pink helmet to yourself, Shane. Kids, watch this show.
Sorry.
Anyway,
so yeah, what do we think of the difference in color then? Because obviously,
drastic.
Yeah,
I think it really is. Like, I mean, so Shane obviously read it like this, and that's the image you picked. Okay.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's not Galactus, so you're obviously intrigued by the difference in color. But this is obviously what I read, and I would imagine this is the original. I think Marvel Unlimited has probably recolored this to be digitalized, if you know what I mean.
I would wonder, would they recolor it wrong? Surely, maybe this was how they did it in the book, and then they've recolored it for the print. Surely, I wouldn't think they would change it to an unrecognizable color scheme unless they just wanted him to have a different design years ago.
Yeah, this is true. Also, you could argue too that this is as you mentioned, a flashback. And normally with like a TV show or a book, flashbacks aren't the same kind of color, or maybe grayscaled or something, whatever. But so maybe being a flashback, this is what their intention was, to have a different colored Galactus.
So yeah. Sorry, I've just checked my copy of my digital one, and it says it was published in 2017, and I've got the red Galactus.
Okay.
Well, the one I have, I'm reading the what's it called? Who does this? This one, no, the one you can get, like you get sub to it and get it delivered each month. So I think this is 2015. It says
right.
So yeah,
if they recolored it for the 2017 version.
If anybody was there in 1968 and read the Silver Surfer, tell us what one was the original color. We're just curious. But yeah, that was kind of I wouldn't say jarring, but whenever I want to get it and take that screenshot, it really put me off because I don't know if I like the red version. Because I've seen the purple and blue, like the normal one. That's what I liked, and then
I think I like the red a little bit more because I think there are too many villains that are purple. You know, like purple's overdone. Like too many people
and green are very popular villain.
Yeah. So I think purple for someone so menacing is a little bit of a. It's not a menacing color. So to have the red and the orange seems a bit more grr, doesn't it?
Grr.
Grr.
That's a great word to describe. I've seen we've got some comments here again. Sorry, folks, allow me to address this again. Comic Bounce, and this is the page he would have picked. So me, Adam, and Shane all have good taste. We have Luke from Hydro Collectibles join us. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, bud.
Paul St. Galactus has the munchies. Go forth, my herald, and find me planets made of Mars bars. Adam is also confirming that he has the omnibus, and it is the reddish one.
Oh, so it sounds like maybe yours is the reprint then.
Yeah, because they do often recolor. Well, they do often recolor the omnibus stuff as well. Like Thor, the omnibus was recolored. So I'll have to figure that out and find that out.
I want to know the justification as to why. You know, like what was the point? Like, did they run out of color? I mean, like, we've only got red left. Let's quick.
Or did they just forget to add the blue to it? Just like,
like it does seem really strange. Like, there's no, like, you're right. There's no reason. I haven't heard anything. There's nothing on this book to say it's been recolored or anything like that. But yeah, I would like to know, like, if you did recolor it, why did you do it?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, makes sense. Sean is saying here he's read the first six issues of Silver Surfer and really didn't enjoy it at all.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is a shame. But just on that, so this is issues 1 to 5 of Silver Surfer, and I'll admit I feel like I almost cheated the boys here because we were all looking forward to a nice, easy 5-issue story read, and it is 5. It is 5 issues, but they are long issues, almost double because there's part 1 and part 2 and 4 of the issues. So
they're 40 pages each.
Yeah, I think one was 52. I think one was 50 something. I think.
Oh, I must have blocked that out of my memory.
So I do apologise. Well, don't apologise. It was a great book. We all had fun reading it, and we're here talking about it. So I'm not apologising for it. So Louis here, who was around in 1968, he thinks the Red His Head appears in 68 and was recolored for reprints. Often they got colours wrong. Galactus was also seen in green in some Fantastic Fours.
Ooh.
So maybe Galactus just had a different wardrobe.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that
different
was
helmet, different clothes.
That was his meeting his Herald for the first time outfit. Got to make a good impression.
He was going out for dinner. He was going for a meal, wasn't he? He was going to eat the planet, so that's his dinner outfit, I suppose. And
it was nice to... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say it was nice to see his origin in the book, because the only origin I know of Silver Surfer was from the cartoon, Fantastic Four cartoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was slightly different then, because when he becomes the Herald and he sends him off, he points to his home planet and says, "What about that planet?" And Galactus says to him, "I made a promise not to touch that one." So I thought that was coming, but he kept all his memories, which is different to the Silver Surfer I know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, going back to you.
Yeah, well, Fuzzy said we have Poundland Galactus here. This is a knockoff Galactus because he got 4 turtles as a kid that all had yellow headbands, and he was gutted.
Yellow?
Yeah. Perfect Edition Comics. Check this guy out on his YouTube channel. He's in red as a colour. Are we about to swear on the spines again? We're not quite. It's not Spinegate yet. It's a first world problem. Yeah, we're griping over the colour, but it's a big difference. Just want to know why.
Yeah, imagine if you were reading a Superman book and he came out in a completely different colour costume and the S on his chest was green. You know, you'd be like, they're not
with
his
no
colours.
explanation. Like he hasn't turned evil. He's not his evil twin or whatever. It's just that's just Superman. What's your problem? Yeah, 100%. Comic Bound, I think the Omnis often use the digital files from the Marvel Masterworks books, which they try and painstakingly restore the artwork in its original state. Yeah, I know the Masterwork books, they obviously do kind of print it as they were originally printed, and maybe they've seen there's an easier way to do it this way for some reason. Galactus is blue in Secret Wars. We've read Secret Wars, we should know this.
Jeez, yeah, he is.
I'm still seeing a therapist to get that out of my brain, okay? So let's not bring that up again.
Yeah. Liam, unfortunately, I have to agree with Sean. It's a pretty book, but I couldn't get into it. So that's a shame.
I would have thought this was quite easy to get into because they are very much just single issues. You know, you can just read issue 1 or issue 3 because it was designed to just pick up any of the issues and enjoy it.
It was, yeah.
So you'd think it'd be quite easy to get into.
I mean, they are. I mean, I get that they're long, and there may be times if you're reading all 5 issues, you maybe tail off a little bit, maybe I suppose. But and obviously with the issues, Silver Surfer 4 is that's my grail. I want that cover. I want Silver Surfer 4, and I thought that was a great issue with Loki and Thor. But it wasn't my favorite issue because I thought the Mephisto issue, which is issue 3.
Are you reading my notes, Phil?
great minds, Shane. Great minds. But I just thought that was a terrific issue. But since we're now talking about the writing, and we have mentioned it before, we'll just kind of move on naturally onto that. So, Scott, what did you kind of think about the writing overall and the story? And
the big thing I took away from the writing was one, there's a lot, but. Not necessarily a bad thing, and it was great. And I also, for a book that was out in 1968, they do hit a lot of racism issues, and this was something that I liked about this. The fact this is Silver Surfer is a different colored skin, unknown alien, pretty much trying to fit in, to a very a white world, in like all these cities and stuff, and everyone is just treating him fear and disgust and misunderstanding and all this stuff. And I like that. The fact that Stan Lee was able to get these issues down on paper was great. And then when he meets up with that physicist towards the end of the 5 issues, and he kind of agrees to help him because like it takes one to know one, pretty much, doesn't it? That's kind of how. That's not exactly what he said, but it was kind of that gist, wasn't it?
Like he's a black scientist, and he knows what it's like to live in this world where people think you to be different. So he obviously had a sympathy towards a Silver Surfer and stuff like that. And yeah, I agree, Scott. But I'm going to ask you this question. I didn't think it was preachy at all. Like, it wasn't trying to like force it. I just thought it was completely natural and perfect the way it was done.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like the kind of the way this whole thing flowed was fantastic, and it was it wasn't forced down your neck. It wasn't overused in throughout the issues. It was just good. It was just steady and natural. Yeah.
Well, Marvel knew how to do that back then, though. I mean, you had the X-Men, so they knew how to do this properly without it being just over the top and rammed down your throat. They know how to do the subtle undertones of something. They know how to leave it for the reader to pick up on the cues. It's not like today where they just literally, tell you what they're talking about. It was done well, where you were enjoying a superhero book. And yes, you were recognizing the racial undertones and the issues that were taking part at the time. So it was just done well. And
it was subtle.
Yes, and that's what you do in a superhero book. You don't ram it down people's throats. You let them enjoy the superhero story, and you let them figure these things out themselves as they're reading.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, exactly. I was trying to think of this as if I was living in America at 1968. So I don't know where we are in history at this point, but obviously had tensions with Russia. They made reference to their military a few times in this book, so there's all like the military might and all this kind of stuff. And obviously the people live in fear, and that was a big part of this book. The fact that they had no reason to hate the Silver Surfer, they had no reason to banish him or ignore him or want to harm him, but they just were fearful that he's obviously here to destroy or kill whatever. Obviously there are things go through the book that people believe he is there, because obviously the invisible Brotherhood up a down, and they think he's destroying the city. But yeah, I just thought the way that was done, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, because I'm a big guy, but I'm also quite like I'm soft-hearted, right? So there's 2 characters I thought I would never like, and that's Captain America and Silver Surfer. But I really happen to like their nobility, like the fact that they are really nice and noble, and they always see the good in things. And the fact that the Silver Surfer, and even the Stranger, the enemy of the last issue, obviously seen that. So the Stranger's trying to destroy humanity because he thinks it's evil and it's had its time and stuff. But then the goodness of that scientist, who I forget his name, I want to say Al Harper.
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And he's obviously saved the world by diffusing the bomb that's going to destroy things. So he said, well, maybe there is good in humanity, and that was quite sad as well. And I really like this kind of noble side of the Silver Surfer. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It just took a bit too long to get to the noble side of him, because we were stuck with 5 issues of the woe is me Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
the whiny little bitch.
You do see that throughout the story that, like, at the start he starts off quite lenient, and he's having a go with humanity. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, okay, I'll try it again. I'll see if they're nice to me. What a surprise! They weren't nice to me. How could I fall for this again? You broke my heart. Blah blah blah. And then you get to the issue where my favorite page, and that's where he kind of snaps, and it just kind of seems to get like, he gets more and more like, humans. You know what I mean? Like, get away. And he just kind of got more and more like upset with them. And when he stole that kind of gun from the Fantastic Four, and he kind of like, I need to get away, and all this kind of stuff. You kind of see his personality change throughout the 8 million pages that we read in this story. But yeah,
it was not that bad.
going back to your page, Scott, the page after that, where he does the lightning, the cosmic power, he said a line that really wound me up. He says, "Look what you made me do." And that really just like, I was so annoyed because I was like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So he was trying to help people and they weren't accepting him over and over and over again. At some point, just stop. You know, dude, just go, just stop. I get that you can't leave the planet, but you don't have to keep on interacting with people.
He did sit with the lions, didn't he? The lions
that was
and
cool.
the hippos, and that they were next to him. They were nice and friendly, you know.
But then to attack the world as Galactus, pretty much like he was just going to destroy the entire planet, and then blame humanity for it. I thought, no. You moaned from the first page, the very first page of this book. You did nothing but moan. Then you gave us a flashback to tell us how you moaned on your own planet before you were the Silver Surfer. Then you became the Silver Surfer and were happy for a little bit. Then you started moaning again because you got trapped on a planet. It's like all he did was moan, and I got a bit annoyed at him. And it wasn't until
but then he is from a planet that doesn't have any of this, you know, everything's nice and whatever, so he's not used to this kind of, you know.
Oh, it must be so hard to be on such perfect. Oh, woe is me, I can have anything I want, I've got the woman of my dreams, I have everything. Such a hard life.
I think Shane wants to rename him to the Mauve Mona.
Oh, Dee's just Debbie Downer, isn't he? He was literally just for the entire book just moaning. And I was just like, dude, just run a bath, get a glass of wine, and put some Enya on. Just chill out. Chill out.
It did. I mean, the moaning, it did grow tired after a while. I thought as well. I agree. But at the same time, you know, I don't know what it's like to be stuck on a different planet. Like, I can't escape, even though I've surfed the space and the cosmos for how many years before, you know. So I understand. I want to catch up with some comments here before I lose track. So Sean the Noob, it's great of you, Shane. He just whines way too much. He drove him mad. And we all agree that there was a lot of that throughout the book, but still very good story, obviously. And Paulo Costa's referring to Al Harper's sacrifice was one of the most inspiring stories I ever read. Made me scream, "Where were you, Surfer? All your power, and he's the one who has to die." And that is so true. I suppose the Surfer was occupied, but at the same time, he's a mere mortal human being. It was Harper, and Silver Surfer has this cosmic energy, and yet he dies. It doesn't seem fair.
No, it was a really good ending to that issue, and you know, it was very, very touching, and you know, warming and stuff. But you know, and also slightly like, oh man, like why him? Like he seems like such a cool guy. You know, like he seems like a kind of guy that could have grown into his own character maybe in the future, or like a side character to help other superheroes and stuff.
I think it had to be him because he was the only one that was nice to Silver Surfer. So it had to be him for the Silver Surfer to realize, you know, humanity's worth saving.
Yeah.
So the thing about his death too, at this point in the book, so he was being chased in the car by, I don't know, half a dozen angry locals just because he had this thing on his waist that was trying to find this bomb. So they followed him, and then whenever Silver Surfer done his thing, or the Stranger done his thing, and everyone just forgot what they were doing, what they were there for, the fact that they actually buried his body, like that, I don't know what it is. Like they were so angry at this person chasing him down, trying to get him because they thought they were going to harm him, and then had no idea what's going on, and then they respectfully kind of thought, we can't just leave this body here, we have to bury him. I just thought that was quite nice. I don't know why. It's just like that whole kind of scene through him dying was sad, but that was quite nice. They took that time to dig him a hole in the ground type thing.
The thing is, no one will ever know what this guy has done. This person saved the world, but no one will ever know. And that was, you know, that was the shitty bit there.
It's like the Batman trilogy when no one will know that Batman saved the entire city.
Yeah.
Poe had added there, I had seen the Stranger around, but he had never been more dangerous than in that story. Likewise, the Badoon in number 2 were very convincing villains. And that's one thing about the Brotherhood of Badoon. So they were obviously brought in to tell this like kind of one-shot story because they were going to have an arc later on. It references that in the book. So I don't know what they've done later on, but they obviously had some sort of series or some sort of arc with the Silver Surfer down the line. So I was also just introducing them, but I thought they were quite cool as well, even though like their invisible suits and stuff was really strange and weird, but I just like that little kind of story as well.
Yeah, I just love the. Oh, we're totally here in peace.
Yeah,
I know. It was proper, I don't know. It was proper cheese. Like they were cool villains, but their whole like motive was quite cheesy.
Yeah, and comic point is something we can all relate to. I don't know what it's like being stuck on a different planet, but I'm stuck on this one, and I can relate to the Silver Surfer and his need to moan about it. Yeah, don't we all? Don't we all? Unfortunately,
I agree.
Can I
bring up the formality of the writing in
Yeah.
throughout the book? Like some of it was hard to read, and it was hard. Like it kind of took me out of the story a little bit, I guess. Maybe I'm talking purely based on my experience as a newish reader, a year old reader, and it was just really difficult to kind of just get into it and just jump into it, like especially the Thor issue.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Did
The
Shakespeare write that? Jesus, man!
Yeah,
like
I loved the Thor issue, but I agree. They're like when they had I forget their names. The minute like Thandril and whatever, like they all spoke so like Shakespeare-ish type language, and it was hard to kind of read it. Still enjoyed it, but you're right. And even the Silver Surfer, he was so formal the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he spoke himself in the third person quite a lot as well, which is what annoyed me a little bit. Like I am the Silver Surfer. This is what I do, or what I know, whatever. But it's just like, everything was a third person, and it was so formal. And I agree, but I think the Thor issue is maybe the one that could have taken me out of it. But I just thought that was great.
Like part of me was like, cool. I really enjoyed the Thor issue because kind of like we're off Earth. It kind of felt like a palate cleanser to the 5 issues, and so that was cool. The concept of it and what was going on was cool, but it was just the dialogue was just so hard to read. It was like the dialogue was a slog, but the actual story itself, if I read it and then if you read it and explained the story to me, I'd have been like, that's cool. But reading the story,
you could go through with a pen and you could cross out like 2/3 of that text, and you could still enjoy that issue as a story.
I think the word slog is maybe a bit harsh, because we read the Eternals, which was a slog for 4 or 5 issues. This wasn't quite that, but I know what you're saying. It was borderline a slog,
Yeah. But it had the real Loki in it, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was good.
As soon as I opened that and I saw Loki sat there, spread eagle on the chair, man spreading on his throne, I was like, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this one.
Did you see his pink helmet? Or?
No, he had a gold one.
Oh, dearie me, keep it clean, folks. But to be fair, the Loki as well, he also referred to himself in the third person quite a lot. And I don't know if that was a thing back in the 60s and 70s where they'd done that quite a lot. I don't like it. I don't like referring to yourself in the third person. It's just odd.
Yeah.
But
Scott doesn't like it either.
Yeah. Well, Paulo Costa here. The Badoon appeared a year later in Guardians of the Galaxy first appearance. The story was set in the 30th century, showing how they were able to wait 1,000 years to conquer Earth. Wow. It's a long wait. I wonder if Silver Surfer was still stuck on Earth that whole time. And Louis, remember that the Marvel way of working often led to Lee being incredibly wordy, as often the artist would make the story in a different direction. It led to huge fallouts with Lee Kirby and Ditko, as we well know. And yeah, that's true. And I know that that's the old Marvel way of working. I think Dan Slott does it now, and quite often you'll see Dan Slott have someone else help him with that to fix the wording, and that's obviously done how it was done in the 60s, but I don't think that would fly now, that way of working. It couldn't. It's not coherent or something to me. It just sounds all muddled up. The fact that they have the art before the kind of, the word bubbles or whatever, the dialogue and stuff, just odd.
Yeah, I mean, that explains why sometimes the text is just there. Like, it's not positioned correctly, is it? Like, there's just some free space on the page, so they've filled it up with some extra text that they needed to put in there, so that it explains that. And I suppose back then, when everything was hand drawn, you couldn't just have them redo it in an afternoon, could you?
This is true, but also they're making it harder for themselves, were they not? Comics want to be fun. They make things harder to do that afterwards. And I kind of want to touch as well on Stan Lee and the fact that obviously he's Stan Lee. Everyone knows who he is, and he had his soapbox and stuff. And I found this quite funny. So Stan Lee often had the soapbox to kind of talk about things that are going on in the world to make things better for people and so on and so forth. And we can see that in his writing as well. But there was one page which I thought was really funny. So they're obviously in New York. This is when the Badoon Brotherhood were invisible, walking through the human race, and there's a bin, like a garbage bin or a trash bin, whatever you want to call it, and there's a sign saying every litter bit helps keep New York clean. And it's just the fact that he includes that, because he obviously he must feel strongly about litter and like, you know, keep New York clean. Like, it doesn't have to be there, but he puts that sign there. I just thought it was quite. That's just what was nice. It's just like he wants to put these kind of messages through the book to make things better.
He's very observant, mate.
Yeah, I did not notice that.
No, me neither. That's great though.
So Tottenham Gaming here saying, so this comic inspired The Rock speaking in third person, possibly. And we have World Comics Review. How's it going? It made for fun stories when each comic was more self-contained. Now they have a company-wide crossover every few months. It needs to be more organized.
Yeah, 100%. That's I love that about these older books, that you can just grab any issue at all and you can just enjoy it from start to finish. You don't have to go, oh, I've got to read 7 issues before and 4 issues after to understand the story. It's just, I do wish they did more of that nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at the current X-Men books, there's all different types of books. You almost have to read them all to get the story. I just want to read that one title, even. It doesn't have to be the one issue, just that one title. But yeah, that was great. Hey, folks, sorry to stop you. Keeping to tradition. The glasses are on. And they're off because I don't like wearing them. So
where did Phil go?
So we're going to do our scores, our final thoughts and scores. And folks, if you read along this week, just put your score in the comments and we will collect and collate that as well. Let us know if you enjoyed it or not. And we will start with Shane. Give us your thoughts on scores, please.
Okay, so I was, like we spoke, I was expecting a nice type 5 issues and we really got 10. I'm not going to complain because I really love the art throughout this book. The colours, my gosh, every page was beautiful and made me very happy. Silver Surfer was just a whiny little emo that just needed a slap at times. But once we got to issue 3 and we had Mephisto, I absolutely loved that issue. I thought Mephisto was done fantastic. Even the way he was drawn, like always in shadow, and there was just like part of his face hidden. And then we got the Thor and Loki issue, and I was like, yep, I'm on board now. I'll forgive all the moaning. I really enjoyed it. So I think because it did still fit, I read it as a trade, but it is very much 5 individual issues, which is fine. And I wish I had read it like that. Actually, I wish I'd done like 1 a day rather than sat there and read it all in one go. I think that was my fault because I was expecting one coherent story. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this. And for the time, for 68, I didn't think I'd be enjoying comics from all the way back then with the likes of, you know, Eternals that we've had in the past. So, but for me, this is, yes, a definite recommend. If anyone is a fan of Silver Surfer and hasn't read this, go back and read it because it's awesome. And I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Ooh, nice. Scott?
Pretty much a lot of the same, to be honest. The art was fantastic and nice and clean. The colors were very vibrant and nice. I loved how space was depicted in every panel that you see. You know, even when Silver Surfer is above Earth, and you can just see, you know, the space beyond it. And even though we know, like, that shouldn't be there, you know, this squiggle of red, like, what is that? But whatever it was, I liked it, and it was nice to look at. Like I said, you know, in my main stuff earlier on, I really enjoyed the way that, you know, Stanley touched on, you know, the human issues that we actually see in real life, but, you know, in a more subtle way and not just kind of jamming it down your throat. And it was just nice. And Silver Surfer as a character, I've never read him before, so it was really nice to learn about him. And yes, he was a bit moany, but I was really trying my hardest to understand where he was coming from. And to see him kind of go through the 5 issues kind of, and his personality change was really gradual and, you know, smooth, I think, and not quite jarring. So you know, overall, I think apart from the formal writing, that was one of my issues, and the other issue was the whole Galactus coloring thing. It was an overall good read, and I would recommend it to anyone who is interested in, Silver Surfer or Galactus or any other character attributed to Silver Surfer. And I would definitely recommend it, unlike Eternals. So this, for me, is going to be a 7 out of 10.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, I'll give mine, but before I give mine, I'll already have some scores here, and just let you guys know that you have some time to get your scores in before I finish mine. Joblot has given it a 7. Paulo Costa has given 8 out of 10. Andy from Perpetual has given it a 6. And Comic Bound, I couldn't read this week, but read these issues a while ago when I got the Omni. So from my very fuzzy memory and taking into account the silver aginess, I think I'll give it a 7.5. That's good. So, folks, it's your last chance to get your scores in after I give mine. I agree with everybody here, the exact same. So I think the writing also is maybe long. It's very wordy. But again, I haven't read a book from that era that isn't, if you know what I mean. And similar to what Scott said, the fact that it touched on a lot of issues and the human aspect of the fear and racism, and I love the heroic sacrifice at the end. The artwork throughout was it was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. That whole issue of the colouring, I didn't know that until an hour before we came live, and I was getting a screenshot. So it annoyed me. But I'm still happy I read the issue I had, the colour I had. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm happy with that. I still think, for me, that's the better version, the better coloured version anyway. The Silver Surfer is someone as a character, I know some about. Ever since Donny Cates brought him in with Thanos run, he's been included in King of Black. He's been included in Guardians of the Galaxy. Silver Surfer Black was another mini-series. The Silver Surfer is something I really was looking forward to going back and reading, and this is the starting point. It is a bit bittersweet too, because I don't want to refer to Dean every time, but Dean purchased me this book for my birthday, and I was wanting to pick this for months, and Scott kept picking Marvel books ahead of me, so I kept changing. So it is bittersweet that Dean isn't here to read along with me, but delighted to have that, delighted to have read it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a great starting point, and there are issues with the length of the book, the formality, the kind of what do you call it, third person I didn't like. So I'm going to go with Shane and give it a 7.5. So
nice. You certainly got your money's worth out of books back then, didn't you?
Yeah, well, what price were they? Were they
10 cents, weren't they? 25 cents? 40 pages for 10 cents. Yeah, I'll give you 10 cents for 40 pages.
Yeah, absolutely. And some books now here $5.99, but absolutely. We did get one more score in. So the Funky Gibbons, as I said earlier, it's a pretty book, but not my cup of tea. I will throw in a disclaimer that I've had a rubbish week, so maybe my head wasn't in the right place. So I will read again at some point, and it's a 4 out of 10. Obviously, maybe we have talked you around to it. You want to read it again, which is a good thing. But yeah, I loved this book. And Joblots let you know, Shane, try grab a copy of Thor 193. It stars Thor, Loki, and Silver Surfer, and it's a great read.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, he says that. What is it going to be, 10 grand or something? Because
possibly. If you happen to have a Silver Surfer issue number 4, that's maybe going to be in one of your lucky boxes or your mystery boxes. Just let me know. But I did ask Scott to do the math. Scott, what's the score here for the Nerd Herd?
So the audience score comes to an average of 6.5.
Interesting.
Out of 10, if you were wondering. And
Not 5.
Our score averages out at 7.3.
Ooh, nice.
That's a good. So we see where it falls on the leaderboard then?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
7.3. If I get rid of this ticker.
So, yeah. It comes just below Dave. So it's kind of 14th place. Above God Butcher and Dead of Winter.
Pushes those down to 15th. Everything gets pushed down. It's our first 7.3 book.
It is.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think that's fair. I mean,
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean the God Butcher. We all love the God Butcher and God Bomb and stuff. Well, God Bomb was obviously better, but I think this would be slightly better. I would say, and we obviously agree.
Personally, it is God Butcher for me above this because
Dead of Winter is above this for me, but
yeah, I just love gore so much in the God Butcher. But yeah, I think 7.3 is a really good score. You know, 2 7.5s and a 7. I think we've done well.
Does this make you want to read more Silver Surfer? Maybe is this would this kind of like ignite that kind of, you know?
If there was a modern run with like more, like the language was more, you know, more modern, then yeah, I would. But it's, for me, like, you know, it was a good read. It was cool to read like a one-off. But if I was going to continue to read this, it's got to be in a more modern language for me.
There is an arc. Now I can't pronounce this word. Is it Requiem or Requiem?
Requiem.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you very much, Shane, again. But yeah, so it's kind of held in high regard as a good Silver Surfer story as well, and maybe that's a good another good book to read in the future. And Joblot has mentioned Silver Surfer Black. Absolutely, I read this. Donna Cates. The artwork in this, by the way, is really divisive. You'll either really love it or you'll really hate it, but it is fantastic.
Art.
Yeah,
I would continue reading this Silver Surfer, but I would read it like one issue at a time and take my time with it rather than read a bulk lot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know what happens. We know what happens. I suppose he's not stuck on Earth forever, but I kind of want to know how he gets to that point where he gets through the barrier and maybe battles Galactus and stuff later on. I don't know if that happens in the Fantastic Four books later on or in Silver Surfer's own book at some point. And just a few more comments here before we get to our channels. Adam is saying, "Oh man, no one ever talks about Silver Surfer."
Requiem.
And that really needs an oversized edition. Yes, it does. And it only runs 18 issues, this first volume.
Oh, okay.
So you've only got 36 to go then, you know. So anyway, that's us. That is our score. That is what we have decided to rank it on our leaderboard. Before we go, we're going to go around and see what we have on each other's channels. I'll start because I have nothing. Absolutely.
What about the other thing we're doing for next week?
Oh yes, this is why I have these boys to remind me what we're doing next week. All right, see, I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. So
you are okay.
Next week we are reading.
Yeah, buddy.
Superman Sacrifice from 2005, not written by Stan Lee, with art by John Buscema. That of course is Shane's pick, so Shane will be the host next week. And then we're going to judge every one of us to see who does the better job. I'm just kidding. Wow. Do not do that.
No, do not score us. Do not score us on a 1 to 10 scale.
That will knock my confidence. All right. So, will we do channels now? Scott, is that
go ahead?
Okay.
Yes.
As I said before, I have nothing because I am a lazy git. But I will be making a little bit of an appearance on something that happens this Saturday. Which, Scott, do you want to tell the folks what's happening?
Yes. This week, guys, a week early, we are going to be doing Comic Airwaves this month. It is episode 7, entitled Filling In. Guess what that means as you will. But yes, we've got loads of cool stuff. I will tell you guys now, we do have an interview. I won't tell you who with yet. Just keep an eye on the thumbnail on the on my channel. And in terms of another auction, we will be doing it, I think, in the first weekend of September. I think we're going to be looking at maybe the 4th of September, the 4th or the 5th. But yeah, that's all I got coming up. And, sorry, I'm going to be doing a massive haul video as well at the end of the month.
Nice. And Shane, what have you got coming up on Donna Comics?
Well, since Scott took my 3rd Saturday of the month and we couldn't do the quiz on the Saturday, we're doing it on the Sunday instead. So I'll be recording the quiz on the Sunday and I'll get it out next week.
Sorry, bud.
That's okay. It's fine. I'll let you off this once.
Yeah, the quiz is always good fun. Unfortunately, I won't be here this time around, but I have already penciled myself in for September's quiz, Shane. I will not miss that one.
Awesome.
I hope.
Thank you.
Just before we go, one last comment. Of course, I'm going to say this. Joblot Comics, well done, Phil. You were a brilliant host.
Yes, you were.
Thanks. And hopefully I'll get better at this. But
yes.
One more tradition that we need to finish on, I suppose.
Shout-outs.
Oh,
That's
see,
right.
this is what we do. Okay, so we still have shout-outs, and one of the ones we do have, which I will post. Are you going to post, Scott, in the chat?
I've got it, yeah.
Yep, it is the Comic Book Report. That is his YouTube channel, and that is his Instagram as well, I believe. Yep.
Yes.
He's relatively new to Instagram and YouTube. I think it's only a month or so he's been doing it. But check him out. He's some of the stuff he puts on is something that I admire myself, and we all have similar interest. And as per usual, if you like what we do, you'll probably like what he does as well. So go check him out. And just one last boost of confidence on my own. Scott gets a 10 out of 10, and Phil gets an 11 out of 10. And just Albert is coming in, evening gentlemen. Sorry, we are literally closing, but feel free to watch the replay and listen to the podcasts. So that is us, isn't it? Please, we're done. There's nothing else I've forgotten.
Sorry.
We're all good. This is Amateur R over here at the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Well, this is us. So one last thing to do. If I can find mine, I've put it around here somewhere. Oh, there it's there. Let's get your waves out.
Oh. Bye, everyone.
Love you.